All right, everybody. I know many of you have been on this journey with me for YouTube and my business here for a long time. I've been doing this for about 3.5 years now, and many of you have been with me for a while, and I think you guys know that this day was blissfully coming at some point, and today is the day. So we have finally upgraded to a new machine as far as the skid steer goes, to tackle our mulching applications, and we've got it right here in the yard. So I'm gonna show you guys what we got. All right, here she be. I pulled the trigger on this Asv Rt-120, and this might look a little familiar to you guys because this machine has been on John with Upstate Brush Control's channel a good bit, because this is his 120. If you saw on his channel, if you guys aren't following John and you like mulching work, you need to go over to John with Upstate Brush Control. The channel is just Upstate Brush Control, but anybody that watches that channel, you know John, because he lets you know who he is right at the beginning of the video. And if you guys saw his channel, you know he just recently bought an Rt-135, which is the new model of the 120. I think 2021 was the last year the ASV stopped making the 120s. They've now gone to the 135. And he bought his 135 from CCE, who I have my partnership with. Casey over there at CCE, who is the owner. And if you guys are interested in getting a 135 or a 75 for your mulching applications, or need a skid steer, or need a they also sell Wacker-Neuson skid steers. They sell Wacker-Neuson minis. They sell a lot of different stuff on there. So if you guys want something like this, or need a skid steer or a mini or any other piece of equipment, they sell Fecon, Dennis Seamoth, Lofness, Prenoth, all those mulching attachments. Yeah, they can get you almost anything you need for whatever application. And John went to him, and they got him an ASV 135 on order, and Casey told me about it, and I reached out to John and I said, hey, are you going to be selling one of your 120s? And he said, as a matter of fact, I am. And he's got two of the 120s, and one is I can't remember what year the older one is. This is the newer one. This was the newer one he bought 2 years ago. This is the 2020 that he sold. And yeah, so I called John, and he told me what he wanted for it, and I said, it's sold. I'll pay you what you're asking for it. I thought it was a very fair price. I told him right there on the spot. I said, I'll pay it. Just give me a little bit of time. And luckily the deer is gone. It's sold. I didn't have it up on the marketplace a week before it sold, and I got pretty close to what I was asking for it, so I was happy with that. I took it up to my parents' house in Apex, and a kid over in Sanford bought it for work around their farm. And then I went up to John. I actually went up to Greenville. I hung out with John and his guys for a day, and spent a day on the job with them. I took video of all that, so you guys will see that whole video as well. We were out on a dirt job on the top of a beautiful mountain. It was gorgeous. I was operating the other 120 out there for a bit. I got to run the 135G, but that ended up being a little bit of a disaster because it didn't. I run backhoe mode, what they call backhoe mode, on excavators, and it didn't have a pattern changer. So it only had the excavator mode, which is a completely different pattern setup than the backhoe mode. So John was like, just get in and run it. And I was like, this is gonna be bad. And it was a total crap show. I ran it for about 10 minutes, and I was like, this ain't working. I think I got like 4 buckets in 10 minutes. So that'll be funny. You guys will see that. But yeah, this is what I got. I picked this up, and I just got back to the shop. So I know the first thing you guys are going to want to see is me hook this mulcher up to this thing and just go to town, but I've got to actually take this over to John Deere, to my guys over at John Deere, and they're going to retune the mulcher head to this machine. And they don't actually have to do anything with the machine itself, but there's just some knobs and things, some adjustment knobs on the motor inside the mulcher that they've got to adjust to account for the flow of this machine, because it's quite a bit more powerful than the John Deere. The John Deere was 85 horsepower. This is 120. The John Deere put out 35 gallons a minute. This one puts out 45, though I think I'm going to be running the mulcher. John said they mostly run their mulchers around 40 to 43 gallons a minute, so I'm probably just going to have them put this one on 40 and run it at 40. And you do all that, One thing I do like about this over the Deere that I had is you can go in the computer in there and set what you want your hydraulic flow to be. If you want it to be 40 gallons a minute, if you want it to be 45, 38, whatever you want it to be, you can do that in the computer. On the John Deere, it was all with the throttle, which was kind of annoying. But yeah. So I got the Upstate brush control special with all this guarding on the back. Got this big bumper back here. John and his guys did this themselves. This heavy duty grading back here. I mean, this thing is just heavy duty. I mean, you can't move that. There's just nothing there to move. And it's all removable, you know, with the bolts and everything, which is nice if I need to take it off. And yeah, so I am super happy with this thing so far. I ran the other one out on the job doing some dirt work. And I will say this, these machines, this forestry, that's what these things are made to do. If you're in the mulching application, this in my mind is probably the best machine on the market. This and the 135 are probably the best machines on the market for putting a mulcher head on it and going into the woods. When they designed these machines, the engineers designed them from the ground up. That's what they were made to do. But I will say this, after running the other 135, my John Deere would run circles around this thing doing dirt work. I mean, it would just do circles around it as far as moving dirt, doing dirt work, doing grade work. You know, if you're going to be doing more dirt work or getting into the dirt work, you know, John Deere, Talk, Kubota, Cat, you know, those people, you know, those manufacturers may be where you want to go. But if you're trying to go into the woods and turn trees and brush into mulch, in my humble opinion, I don't think there's a better machine on the market than the ASVs. That's my opinion. You know, you guys can debate that with me if you want, but that's just what I think. And I did consider some other manufacturers. I considered Deere and Talk before finally deciding that, you know, one of these days a 120 is where I wanted to be. The reason why is, the reason I didn't go with Deere is, first of all, again, like I said, those Deere machines are not specifically made to go into the woods and mulch. They can do it, and they do it well, but they're not, that's kind of not what they're made to do. If I was doing more dirt work, if I was doing 75% dirt work or 80% dirt work and 20% mulching and brush cutting, I would not have sold the Deere. Or if I did, I would be going to go get another John Deere, because that thing was a beast at moving dirt. The 333, in my opinion, is probably the strongest, overall the strongest machine for doing dirt work out there on the market. That, again, my humble opinion, but that thing is a monster. But my business is more 90% mulching and brush cutting and maybe 10% dirt work or grade work. I do very little of it. Most of it's driveways. You know, doing more gravel than actual dirt work. So that being considered, this machine will get me by on the, you know, the occasional dirt work or driveway grading job I need to do. It can do that. I did like the Talks. I know Andrew over at V-Belt and Sons. If you're not watching his channel, he's got a really cool channel too. He's out in California, and he's got a TL12. Really loves it for doing mulching work. The problem with the TL12 that I had was, if I was going to get a TL12, I wanted the V2, which is the one that Chris has. Chris over at Let's Dig 18. He has the TL12 V2, which is the vertical lift. That thing weighs like 13,500 pounds or something like that. It is a heavy machine, and that's without a 2,400 or 2,500 pound mulcher sitting on it. So once you put that on top of it, you've got a 16,000 pound machine. My trailer is not rated to hold that much weight. My trailer can net out capacities about 13.8, 13.9, somewhere in that total weight. The reason I love this 120 is it weighs almost exactly as much as my John Deere 329E, which is crazy because it's a much more horsepower machine, but it only weighs like 11.5, and the other one weighed like 11.2 or something like that. No, it was 11.5 too. This one, they both weigh right at about 11.5. And so that was the other reason I wasn't gonna have to go upgrade my trailer. If I'd have gone to go get a Talk I would have had to dump another probably 15 grand at least and going to go get a bigger, beefier trailer to pull that thing down the road. And my truck is gas, and so it's not great for pulling anyway, at least heavy stuff. I get around locally, but you know, if I was long hauling day in and day out with heavy stuff like this, I'd have to go get a diesel. But most of my driving is just locally, and the gas does fine. It doesn't get great gas mileage, but it gets me around. So that is kind of what put me on the path for getting one of these 120s. And so yeah, I'm really excited about it. This one does need DEF. It is a final tier 4 engine, needs the DEF. So the other one, the John Deere, didn't need the DEF, so that's going to be a little bit different. I spent the whole, you know, like several, I'd say like an hour or so, a good hour going over this whole thing with John, asking questions, getting all the ins and outs of it. And there's still, I told John when I left, I was like, I'm probably going to be blowing up your phone with questions about this thing. But luckily it does have the owner's manual in it. So it's right up in there. The machine has, I just looked at the meter on it, it has 1,350 hours. And one of the things that sold me on this machine was the fact that I was buying it from John. And you know, sometimes when you buy a used piece of equipment, there's a lot of like, who are you getting it from? What, you know, how's it been treated? You know, what's happened to it? John and his guys take immaculate care of their equipment. John is mulching, like, that's his business. Day in and day out, they're mostly mulching and using these machines. And they have to keep them running, and they have to keep them, you know, operating, and they take immaculate care of their stuff. And so that made me feel really good that, you know, I was buying a machine that I know that somebody has taken really, really good care of. And his guys are good operators. They know what they're doing. And so John has trained them well. And so I felt really good that I was buying this from someone that I trusted and that had taken good care of this machine. The other thing was that his other machine, the older one, has like 3,600 hours on it. Still runs great. Still runs. This one's a little bit smoother for sure with the hydraulics and everything. Just from a little bit of driving it, it's definitely a little smoother. But the other one with 3,600 hours on it, mostly mulching, still kicks ass. So that is another thing. So this thing has plenty of life left in her, you know, if well taken care of, to do everything. So here's the cab. One thing I will say, the cab in this thing is a little smaller than the Deere. It is a little bit narrower of a machine. The Deere was about 82 inches, 80 inches or so, 81 inches overall in the width. This one's like 75 or 76. It's a little bit narrower, and you do feel that in the cab a little bit. This door is heavy duty. When you shut it, you know you're in this thing. It is heavy duty. But it is a little bit narrower of a cab, a little bit less foot room, but that's not the end of the world. The lap bar is almost pretty much the same as the John Deere. Controls, the layout of the controls is a little different than the John Deere as far as the buttons and stuff, but a lot of it's still the same. 2-speed is underneath here on the trigger. Here's your computer right here. Turn this on. I'll fire it up real quick. I gotta put it in the back anyway. So, yep, 1,354 hours. And so, oh, John gave me a full tank of fuel too. Thank you. And mostly full DEF tank. Here's your backup camera, which I didn't have that on the Deere. That was nice. But you can't really see a whole lot out of it because of the guarding back there, but it's still good enough to give you an idea of what's back there. Throttle, parking brake, high flow, lights. It's all pretty simple. The John Deere was a little complicated. A lot of buttons and stuff on that, but yeah, you can set all your stuff in the computer on this thing, and it's a beast. It is a beast. You feel like you're in a tank when you're in this thing. It really does feel like you're in a tank. It sits up a lot higher too. The cab sits a lot higher than the John Deere. Though I will say the visibility is not as good as the John Deere out the sides and out the back, but you do have the backup camera. And the 130, the new 135, they got rid of all this metal guarding, and it's all like plexiglass or Lexan. And man, you can see so good out of the new 135 with the Max Series cab. It's a bigger cab, it's very spacious, it's a lot more spacious than the 120. If you're looking for a machine, if you're looking at one of these ASVs and you want all the creature comforts of the cab, spend the extra money on the 135 with the Max Series cab, because it's nice. It's very, very nice. But yeah, so very happy to put this thing to work. I've already got 3 bush hogging jobs lined up for it, so I'm gonna come and drain the oil out of the MTLs and try to get all that hooked up, and we're gonna be working with this thing here very soon next week. So you guys stay tuned for that, and yeah, we'll be figuring this machine out as we go, and I'm really excited. The ride, oh my gosh, the ride with this thing is so smooth compared to the John Deere. It just floats. If you've never ridden in one of these ASVs over like a traditional skid steer that has the solid rail bottom, no comparison, no comparison. This thing just rides like a Cadillac. Oh, it's so great. And when you're out mulching and you're going over all those stumps and roots and stuff, a hard bottom, you know, a solid rail suspension at the bottom, or undercarriage at the bottom, will beat you to pieces. You'll get out of that thing after a day of doing that, and you'll need to go see a chiropractor, because I've been there and it's not fun. You're sore, you're beat up. But this thing just, it rolls and floats over the ground with the bogey suspension, and it's nice. So yep, there she be. I'm super excited. So we're gonna put her to work. So guys, stay tuned for everything. I just want to give you guys a quick update that we have now upgraded to this, and thanks to John for hooking me up with this thing. I really appreciate it, and thanks for letting me come out there and hang out with him and his guys for a day and mess around on a dirt job, and that was a lot of fun, and we had a good time. Me and John got to talk, swap stories, you know, just talk shop about mulching and all that stuff. We really want to sit down one day and do a video for all of you guys out there that have questions about mulching, and just answer a lot of the questions that we get doing mulching work and starting your own company in mulching. We didn't have time to do that. We were gonna do it this morning, but he had some stuff to go do. So, but we're gonna try to get together again here soon and get that out for you guys. And yeah, so stay tuned for everything. And I really appreciate all the support all you guys have given me over the years. Helped me grow, helped me do this channel. You guys have been awesome. I want to thank all of you guys, and stay tuned for some awesome content. We'll be back. Bye, everybody.